After that stream, asmongold did something extremely rare. Apologize. He said, looking back on it, I was way too much of an asshole about the Palestine
What's crazy
thing.
too
My bad.
is,
of course,
I think Asmon's like apology video, I think is unironically the best YouTuber apology that we have ever seen. And it's crazy because who knew just making a video where you sit down and genuinely apologize will result in a pretty good apology video.
no one deserves to have their
Instead of
life
making
destroyed,
a
even if they
fucking
do things or
ukulele
have views I
song
find
or the
regressive. You
goofy-ass
guys deserve
shit
more
that
than me
we've
saying
seen
stupid
over the
shit like
past
that.
couple
I'll do
years.
better. When it came to Twitter, many of the comments were not on his side. He was ratioed like there was no tomorrow. Well, folks, he said, my bad. I think that's a wrap. Shortly afterwards, the consequences to what he had said truly started appearing.
I mean, I don't really have an issue with this take in regards to his tweet, but like there are people still saying this like in the comment section of his YouTube apology, and I think if you're still saying that now, that you're kind of just a fucking idiot, right? Like I can understand like I can understand this not being like really an apology at all, but like he made what, like a 20-30 minute video that's like actually a really good statement on like what he said, the issues with it, and how he's going to try and do better. And like obviously we need to see if he tries and actually does better, but like I don't know, there wasn't anything else I wanted from him. He apologized. That's really all he needed to do.
As this was all happening, yet another company decided to cut ties with him, although temporarily, and that's Twitch. They decided to ban him for 2 weeks following his comments on Palestine. He then made a video outlining his plans moving forward, that he was going to get his life
I was talking about. Well, actually, is this
together, that he was finally going to clean his messy ass house, that he realizes that he's become an unpleasant person in his opinion the more he spent time online,
his apology
that he was
video
reached
was
out to by the very
really
same people he
apology
called inferior, and they were very open to not only forgive him but to have a conversation. So we'll see what he ends up doing. However, as people finally got what they wanted and asmongold was banned, the conversation shifted to other streamers on Twitch that have said things that were just as bad, actually, if not way worse, than what he had said about Palestinians, that were not yet banned, and if anything, were encouraged by the platform itself. Most people, of course, were referring to Hasanabi, the same streamer who had spoken to asmongold after his rant. Why? Well, you only need a couple of examples. On January 2024, a few months after the attacks of October 7th...
Bro, I'll let him... we'll hear him out and hear what he says. I can bet you like $100 that I can dismantle his entire argument with a single sentence that like you can like easily come up with if you do any amount of research. But we'll hear him out.
Hassan brought on a Houthi pirate from Yemen to talk on his stream through a video. He asked him questions about the conflict in Israel and Palestine, about his opinion on numerous things, and of course if he watches anime, to which the Houthi said, I watch One Piece. Hassan loved the answer, his community loved the answer, and of course this got memed. Hassan was heavily criticized by many on Twitch, people who weren't even political in nature, and yet Twitch pretended like it didn't happen. They had nothing to say about it. Let me tell you why that's a big deal. On January 17th, around the same exact time Hassan was interviewing the Houthi pirate from Yemen, the US Department of State designated the Houthis as a terrorist organization. That's because they were attacking commercial ships moving along the Red Sea. They were hindering global trade and attacking innocent people on those vessels that had nothing to do with the Israel and Palestine war. Twitch's terms of service very specifically outlines a section dubbed Terrorism and Violent Extremism, in which they say that terrorism and violent extremism promote unlawful violence and spread messages of intolerance. Twitch does not allow content that depicts, glorifies, encourages, or supports terrorism or violent extremist actors or acts. This includes threatening to or encouraging others to commit acts that would result in serious physical harm or significant property destruction. For example, you may not want to display or link terrorist or extremist propaganda, including graphic pictures or footage of terrorist or extremist violence, even for the purposes of denouncing such content. So Hassan has successfully promoted a terrorist organization as outlined by the US Department of State. I should add that he asked him very softball questions such as, do you know what Kyphxr is? And do you watch anime? This wasn't really journalism, it was just glorifying revolutionaries like he does all the time.
Mujin, it's super sad to see you clip chimping, but that's okay. I didn't really peg you as a Hassan fan, and so I kind of get it, but let's talk about what really happened here. So this kid goes by the name of Timothy Houthi Chalamet, right? Like a play on Timothy Chalamet. And the joke was like that he was a Houthi pirate, right? And so Hasan brought him on stream and was going to do an interview with him, talk to him about like the Houthis, their terrorism, what they've been doing, that kind of stuff. And so he gets into the interview, and within a couple minutes of the interview starting, he realizes that this kid is not a Houthi pirate. He is a 19-year-old civilian. He's literally just a random kid. He's not a terrorist, and he's not a Houthi. His beliefs do not align with the Houthis. You can look on Twitter. He has talked about this extensively. He doesn't agree with them on their views of queer people. He doesn't agree with them on their views of Jewish people. He's literally not a Houthi pirate. This is disinformation. And Mujin, I like you because you do research. This came out 5 hours. Oh my God, dude. I like you because you do research, because you usually are unbiased, and you'll find the answer. This kid is not a Houthi pirate. Editing Kai here, I just want to add that I find it interesting that Mujin said that the Houthis were designated as a terrorist group around the time that Hasan did that interview, because he's right. It was around the time of the interview, but it was after the interview. So even if all of this is wrong and this kid is a Houthi pirate and a terrorist, they weren't designated as a terrorist group when this interview took place. And so this is not promoting terrorism because this kid is not a terrorist.
From Yemen to talk on his stream through a video call. He asked him questions about the conflict in Israel and Palestine.
And that's why he asked him softball questions, because he realized that this is just some teenage kid. So it went from an interview with a Houthi pirate who's a terrorist to an interview with a teenage civilian who's being affected by terrorism. And so the interview turned into something where Hasan was trying to show people that the civilians there are just human beings like us, which I think is really ironic in the face of asmongold saying that they're not. That's actually like kind of the exact point of why Hasan's doing this. And so spreading disinformation the way that you are is incredibly harmful, with people still saying things like asmongold did nothing wrong.
Opinion on numerous things, and of course, if
people saying that when asmongold himself has said that he was wrong on that matter.